Alright, I may have legitimately pissed off a blood member at a highly blood town. Never know what's gonna happen, so I'm just gonna give away the ending. Okay. Since the becoming of a superpower and the discovery of the true motive behind World War II, America was put into an position that they didn't particularly like because they had to become everything they hated. But they were flying around like superheroes with their capes on, and they couldn't deny it felt kind of good, if you will. England is still manifesting a strong position on the planet after being able to step down after World War II to take the weight off their shoulders. Now, they've dealt with their tests and trials for quite some time, but America doesn't really have the same graceful ability, context, or circumstance to sort of a valid, how do you say this, principally go through an eloquent step off the stage. They're in an economic superiority with a population far larger with them, only justifying their eventual super consumerism to take suit and amplify their forces, culture, way of life, yada yada, as well as being sort of paraded around the country, aka Earth, like a bunch of Brits by modern standards, here that we are now today, and the consistency and the motive, it's sort of giving a free will light, if you will, to the natural cultivation of democracy on the planet to coalesce, the necessitative trade value or routes to secure goods and services across the globe. Um, what happens after this? Well, it doesn't take this kind of intellectual backup to relevate on what's going to happen, but ultimately what needs to permeate in order for America to continue being America and to step down in a position of blissful power, similar to the English folk who are now loved around the world, except by some of the Western world who understood their sort of disenfranchisement since their capital of Rome was implicatory between and how they've got a lot of cultural value invested in their sort of grip still without their military dominance, which we now possess. But how we were to ignite a passing of the flame, if you will, in a world where superpowerism is about to be null and void and no longer even a rational term. Joe's going to have to step down, and Harris is going to have to step up. And America will have to socialize progressively so that cops, Christians, and surgeons will have to save life cohesively without profiteers molesting their overall interests, while creating a poster child which births the end of the era of rebellion and war instigated by our Revolutionary War and our founding fathers' win. And this poster child is going to be Kamala Harris. I know a lot of people think Trump's going to come back, but he's custard right now. He's out. He's done. He's going to make more mistakes. He's going to lose more popular opinion, and there's no way he's going to be able to pull off his magic trick again. He might be able to instigate more rebellions that get violent. throughout the next couple of years. But that only concretes his inability to get back into the White House. What ultimately is likely to take place is similar to the Kennedy assassination, essentially. Either the Defense Department is going to take Joe out, put Kamala in, through the assumption that he was assassinated by Trump supporter insurrectionary insanity. Or, this is how I think it should go, but either way, it ends with Kamala. And socialization of our nation. To pre-impose a better value in a forefront and frontier where we're going to have AI systems and robots justifying a non-cost to the overall necessities of our consumer bodies globally. And I mean, you can't just take their jobs and give them no money. I mean, obviously, we're going to have a reason and an ability to consume in a world where jobs are non-existent, essentially, on a simple, mundane monotony by mass manufacturers, if you will, and the sort of elves and or Oompa Loompas, if you will, placed into these circumstances, which man's been protesting for some time now. They don't like the monotony of modern life. And Japan and Canada, through their AI epicenters and all over the world, because those are two founding technologies which are going to release man from the monotony of the Industrial Revolution, implicate and integrate a circumstance under which all the principal arguments for universal salaries become rational. And all the new implications of what strengthens civility in society is paying people to become further disciplined. In whatever retrospective Renaissance art or interest or distraction from rebellion we can offer. But I say joy to the world, all hail President Kamala, and hopefully nothing dirty dog goes down to make it happen, but if Joe keeps bending over backwards for circumstances he may have been compromised for in relation to how we manifest the transition between us and China from a global power position to neutralize the continuation of any one nation being considered the superpower in a world where that would be like all hail Texas because it's the biggest, baddest state compared to all the other states. We're trying to cultivate a world into which each country is like a state in America in principal interest of securing consumer trade for goods and services, essentially, because at the core of our service, of our goodness, of our freedom and our free will is the pursuit of simplicity and peace. So the end to what's about to happen is Joe's either going to get too old, might be a showdown between the insurrectionists and the next assassination, but none of that's necessary, in my opinion. Either way, the end of the show is Kamala Harris becoming president. Hopefully, if the coups and ruse to bring up and bring out sort of where violent free will has jeopardized the ultimate security variables and continuation of our future is submitted and justifying the rational principle of progressive life-saving deprofitization theories exists in America before we pass the torch over to China in a position into which the world has to figure out a means into which demilitarization is as critical as dismantling all the nukes on the planet. Um, we're looking at some of the most incredible centuries and millennias man has ever seen. But yeah, I would put $1 billion on Kamala being the president after the next election, the next assassination, or the end of Joe's 8 years. And trust me, if you're smart, you'll get with it because you can't really become competitive until your working body has all the life saving products and services necessitated to take on what one day will be a world unto which we will be examining business competition without any rebellious argument as to how or why it exists. We're going to aid a infrastructure into which the globe in the next couple of centuries will have self-driving cars, all the life-saving products and securities necessitated, and a context under which the next NFL is going to be broadcasted through Bloomberg because everyone's going to want to be an entrepreneur, not want 15 minutes of fame in the future. But how dare I go against Andy Warhol? But that's my crazy artistic perspective to how the script's being written, and what I'm pretty certain you're all about to be witness to.